To help us better understand the trajectory of events, we now cross over to Kenya to speak to VOA's Vincent Makori, the host and managing director of VOA Africa 54. Vincent, how are you doing?
I am fine.
All right, now Vincent, we want to start with having a better understanding because the numbers have been shifting when it comes to which candidate is on the top. Is it clear by now who might be indeed claiming the highest office?
It is not clear as of yet because the numbers keep fluctuating. At one point, Mr. Raila Odinga leads, and at another point, Mr. William Ruto leads. So it's being called a very close to call race, meaning we cannot for sure predict who is going to win this race until perhaps tomorrow or the day after, when the Electoral Commission will come out to give us the more accurate numbers, because the numbers of voters, or rather the numbers of the votes cast, have not all been brought in. They have not all been counted. So we're working with still a very small number of already counted votes. So let's say it's a it's a waiting game here, and every Kenyan is looking very keenly onto their screens to see what the updates are. But eventually we'll come to know who really gets to emerge on top in this race.
Let's talk about efficiency when it comes to relaying results. How long do you think it will be before we know? Because Kenyans were promised that it might be earliest Thursday, but looking at the events and how they have unfolded, do you anticipate that that will be the case?
The Electoral Commission Chairman, Mr. Wafula Chebukati, who briefed the media this afternoon, made it very clear that under the law, he's allowed up to 7 days to announce the elections, which means we have at least maybe 5 more days in which, within the confines of the law, he can announce those elections. But he promised that working very hard with his officials, they're determined to announce the final results sooner than 7 days. We may not have to wait for 7 days, but of course they give themselves that benefit of the constitutional provision, just in case there are any reasons to delay the announcement until the very last day. But he has said he wants to make sure this is done as quickly as possible, and possibly we may get a result by tomorrow, who knows, or maybe close to Friday, but we don't know. We know that the longer it takes, usually the more it creates a little bit of tension and suspicion. So I don't think they want to keep it waiting for such a long time.
Well, let's stick with the Electoral Commission a little bit longer. When it comes to containing information and dealing with fake news, social media has been all over the place. Some fan groups claiming that their preferred candidate has won. Is there anything that is being done by the Electoral Commission to keep things under control?
The Electoral Commission has made it very clear. Look at the official numbers. The IBC, the Electoral Commission, has a portal where you can go in and see the accurate numbers that have been provided based on those forms that have been submitted and certified by the Electoral Commission. So, and another source can actually be the main media, the major media houses, Kenya Television Network, Citizen TV, Nation TV, and those are basing their numbers on what they're finding on the portal of the Electoral Commission. So the only thing that is being done to counter those, very misleading reports on social media is to encourage people to go to the real source, and that is the IEBC portal, or at least look at the main media houses and see what kind of numbers they're reporting.
Still on the issue of quality control and keeping things in control, there are reports of errors that were circulating even before this morning, since yesterday, concerning ballot papers and pictures, as well as names of candidates being mixed up, and also voters whose names were missing that went to polling stations they have actually been at before and were able to vote. And also there is the case of one of the candidates, George, who was not able to initially vote, but that was rectified a little later on. Looking at all of this, Vincent, how has that impacted the perception of the general public?
It's all about trust. Can you trust the Electoral Commission to hold a free, fair, and credible election? When such things happen, they create doubts in the minds of people about the reliability of the Electoral Commission and all the promises that they've been making over the entire period in the preparation towards this election. You know that the Electoral Commission does not have a very good reputation in terms of delivering an election which is free of suspicion and serious accusations sometimes. So this kind of delays that we witness, those kind of malfunction of equipment and mix-up of papers, postponement of election in some areas, especially that of the governor in Mombasa and another governor in Kakamega and members of parliament, it continues to erode confidence in the Electoral Commission. Well, still, a great number of Kenyans are saying they believe that they're doing a good job and that the Electoral Commission is probably conducted this election in a way that will be acceptable eventually, but it doesn't build that confidence among those who have over time really lost faith in the Electoral Commission, when such errors seem to happen over and over, and that is a big problem.
One of the things that keep impacting lives is security. Now, there's been a few cases of gunshots, as well as stones thrown and fist fight scenarios that were witnessed, and videos really circulating all over social media and mainstream media. Still not in the kind of volumes we've seen in the past, but from your experience on the ground, how effective have the authorities been in terms of containing the damage?
I think you can say they've been very effective. In all the polling areas, there's been heavy security. And whenever there are these skirmishes, those are little kind of minor situations where people start to argue over some kind of disagreement at the polling station. Sometimes it's the agents of the different parties. They engage in fist fights. Some accuse others of probably having brought in some suspicious, paper or something like that. The security is to swing into action and resolve it. This does not really necessarily spill over into some kind of a major incident. They've been contained within where they happened, and most of these have actually happened within polling areas. And now, of course, the different stories that of a member of parliament who was arrested, or rather who has been called in for questioning of a shooting of a person. In fact, she's been arrested. Now, that's kind of a little fuzzy situation. We don't have all the details at this point. But yes, those are situations that have been contained within the local area where they have happened.
Well, thank you so much, Vincent. I know our time is fast spent, but if you could use one word when it comes to the lighter side or the positive side of how the Electoral Commission has handled all of this, what comes to mind?
Well, I can say, the Electoral Commission says we are counting this together. So just stay with us and let's continue doing the count together. So they want to do a good job. Let's say they are determined, and the election is very complex. Just want to remind you that the Kenya's election is an election where you are electing the president, a governor, member of parliament, senator, women representative, a member of the county assembly, all in one day. And so it can be extremely complex.
Yes.
And so you kind of tend to sympathize to some degree with the Electoral Commission.
Very true. We'll leave it there, Vincent, but thank you so much for keeping us up to date. That was Vincent Makori, the host and managing editor, VOA Africa 54, with a recount of day one post-Kenya presidential elections.